Jupyter Notebook is one of the most powerful and unique integrated development environments for Python. It's used in machine learning, data science, statistical modeling, scientific computing, and much more. It's a very valuable tool to have in your toolkit when using Python for various projects or purposes. Welcome to Demystified Programming, and in this video we're going to be covering the basics of Jupyter Notebooks so you can use them in your projects. Now first, to install Jupyter on your computer, you will need to type in the command pip install notebook in your command line. If you don't have pip, there's a link in the description below for a video that will walk you through how to get pip on your computer. But once you have pip, the installation process of Jupyter is very simple. Once you have Jupyter installed via pip, you're going to type in the command Jupyter space notebook in your command line and then press enter. What this is going to do is create a new session of Jupyter Notebook in whatever your default web browser is. In my case, it's Google Chrome. Now once this new session opens, you're going to see all of the directories in your root hard drive folder. Now to create a new Python Jupyter Notebook, I'll just click this new button in the top right hand corner. Then click Python 3. That'll make the new notebook for us. Now notice by default it gives it the name untitled. We can change that by going File, Rename, then typing in the name we'd like. I'll just hit enter. And it's changed the name. Now I can start typing some code in this code cell. So I'll type in a print statement. And then I'll run it by using the keyboard shortcut Control Enter. I can also go the long way by going to the cell menu and clicking Run Cells. That'll do the same thing. Now if I want to save it, I'll just go to the File menu, Save and Checkpoint. That saves my notebook. I can also use Control S as the keyboard shortcut for saving. Now if I want to close this notebook, I can't just use the X there. I have to use File, Close and Halt to completely shut it down, or else it'll run in the background. Now there it is. If I want to delete this notebook, I can just click the checkbox, scroll to the top of the page, then I'll go to the trash can icon and click delete, then confirm, and now it's gone. Now let's say for some reason you accidentally didn't use File, Close and Halt and you instead used the X on your web browser to X out the tab and you didn't fully close the notebook. There's a very easy fix for this. Now notice it's going to say it's still running in the background. You don't always want that because it's going to take up memory. So you'll just scroll to the top, you'll switch to the running menu, and then you'll click shut down. That will shut down the notebook. Now you don't have any more notebooks running. You can see it stopped it from running. Now for the rest of this video, I'm going to be using a Jupyter Notebook on our GitHub page. You can access the link on the description below in our video. Click on that link, it'll bring you here. Then to download it, you can press download code, then download zip. I already have it on my computer. It's in my downloads folder. Then you'll just go through the normal routine once you go to your downloads folder of extracting all and then moving the folder where you'd like it. In my case, I just put it directly in the root folder of my hard drive. It's right up here, Basics of Jupyter. Now what I can do is if I wanted to create a new folder to store it in Jupyter, I can click New, Folder, and by default the folder name is going to be Untitled Folder. It's going to be in the Use. There it is right there. Now I can just check it. And to rename it in Jupyter, I can just click Rename, then put in a name for it. Then I'll do that. Now it's renamed. And now to move this repository, I'll just click Move after selecting it. Then I'll type in the file path. So file path is my stuff. It's the folder I want to move it into. And move. And now if I go down to my folder and I click on it, there's the repository. So I can click in there. And then we're going to be using this notebook for the rest of the video. So I'll click on that. All right. It'll take a little while to load the images. And there it is. Now we already went over installing Jupyter in the beginning of the video, so I'm not going to go over that. Now, what exactly is Jupyter? Well, I already said that it's a integrated development environment used in a variety of different fields: machine learning, data science, statistical modeling. And this quote that I got from the Jupyter website goes into a little bit more detail about some of the uses that it has. And every Jupyter file uses the .ipynb file extension, which is short for interactive Python notebooks. And another really cool thing is there's this interactive Python widgets library that can be installed with pip on the command line, and it allows you to create a lot more compelling Jupyter notebooks. If you want to know more about that, there's a link here that I put in the Jupyter Notebook, and then there's this link below that that goes to the Jupyter website, visit jupyter.org. Now, the 3 cell types of a Jupyter Notebook that you'll be using are code cells, Markdown, and raw notebook converts. Now, to start off, code cells contain Python code that can be executed upon the command cell run cells, or by using the keyboard shortcut Control-Enter as we did earlier, or Command-Enter if you're on a Mac. Now, code cells can only contain Python code. They can't contain any other code other than Python. Markdown cells contain HTML code, and like the code you're reading, this is a markdown cell, but it's a modified from a normal HTML file. You don't have to put the doc type HTML declaration at the beginning, so it's a little bit more modified. But it's really useful to help give your code context. And you can use cell run cells, just like you would with a code cell, to execute it, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Enter. It runs just like executes just like a normal cell. And if I want to edit it, see how I double click there? I can see the raw HTML code, source code, and I can do Control-Enter, and that'll revert it back to its output. Now, raw notebook convert is a cell that you would use to convert Jupyter into a different file format, such as HTML, LaTeX, or PDF. But in my experience, this doesn't get used very often. If you do need it, there's the link to the documentation that I have here in this notebook, so that could be useful. Now let's look at some of the most common commands you're going to use in Jupyter Notebook. Now, I've already covered with you file, save, and checkpoint, as well as file, close, and halt, as we did earlier. Edit, delete cells. That's useful if you want to delete cells. So let's say I had a cell I wanted to delete. Let's type a little comment in. Then you'd select that cell. Then you go to Edit, Delete Cells. And now the cell's gone. Another thing that's useful is Insert, Insert Cell Above, and Insert Cell Below. Now what I can do is go up here, Insert Cell Above to insert a cell above, then Insert Cell Below, and that creates another cell below. Those are useful. Then cell run all is also useful if you wanted to run a series of code cells all at once. So I'm just going to type in a code example here. So I'll type in some variables with some values. And then I will put a print statement at the last one that will print the sum of them. So now I have that. Now I can go to cell run all. And that will run all of those cells, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, and it printed the result at the bottom. Now cell type lets you change the cell type. So if I want to change this from a code cell to a markdown cell, I could do that. Then I could create an HTML heading. So I'll just do that. type in some random heading, then I can Control Enter, and it shows it as a heading. Then if I want to change it back, I can just click on it again, double click, then do cell type code. Now it's back to a code cell. It thinks it's code now. So let's put that back. Now, kernel restart commands are essential for success in Jupyter. They are essential. They're very useful. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I created an infinite loop for some reason. So I did while true, which is never a good example, but never a good thing to do in coding. But I'm just going to do this for the sake of illustration. So I print to infinity and beyond, for infinity and beyond. So I'll run that, and it's going to print that forever. It's going to print that. So what I can do is, if I wanted to stop that code cell, I can do kernel restart. Click restart. Now it restarted the code cell. I still have all this output left over. So what I can do is I can get rid of, first of all, let's get rid of this code. And then I can click kernel up at the top here. And then I can do restart and clear output. That'll get rid of all the printed material that's left behind. So now it's gone. And it resetted all the cells. Now I can also do kernel restart and run all. So if I put my original print statement back the way I had it, I can restart and run all using kernel restart and run all. Then I click that, restart and run all, and take me to the bottom of the page, scroll back up, and it ran the code cell again. And lastly, the help keyboard shortcuts and edit keyboard shortcuts, that is very, very helpful to save time. So I can go to the keyboard shortcuts, and it'll show me all of the keyboard shortcuts for every single operation I could think of doing in Jupyter. So learning those is very important. If you wanted to change a keyboard shortcut, you just use help and then edit keyboard shortcuts. That would let you go back in and change a shortcut by, or add an additional one by pressing the plus sign to add a shortcut. So here's something really cool you can do in Jupyter. This is an embedded Python code in HTML in a markdown cell. It's not an actual code cell, but it looks like one, so you can give it the appearance that's a code cell in your HTML code. So if I just double click on this, you can see that there's just 3 backticks at the top, 3 back quotation marks to initialize it, and then 3 at the end, and then Python to indicate the language to highlight, so you have correct syntax highlighting. I can also do the same thing with a different language. So for C++, I can highlight C++ code, create an embedded example. It can't run, but it can be used for just displaying it, so that's pretty cool to use if you want to put that in your markdown cells. It's a really cool tool to use. So at the bottom of the page here, I have some notes on good Jupyter practice. So the first one is always create a new Jupyter file on the Jupyter directory page like I showed you. Use Control-S to save time. It will save you so much time if you use Control-S to save instead of the other way. Always utilize the keyboard shortcuts. They are your friend. They will save you time in the long run. And then when you're done working on a notebook, use File, Close, and Halt like I showed you to free up memory on your computer. And then this is instructions, I'm not going to go into it, how to get your own Jupyter themes. So this will show you how to change the color from that yucky white plain theme into something that you'd like to customize Jupyter for you. So that's a really cool feature to utilize. And with that, you've reached the end of the video. So feel free to drop a like or comment with any questions or concerns. I will be starting a NumPy series soon, so to get notified when the first video is up, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and until next time.